Greetings folks, in this video I thought I would talk about some of the mods that I've done to my favourite planes. I was just sitting here the other day and looked around my room and just about every one of my planes has had some sort of mods done to it, so I thought it might be of interest to some people. One of the first mods I often do is to get the motor into clear air. Now this is the C1 Chaser. It's probably the only wing I fly with any frequency. Now this one, the motor mount was sort of buried deep into the coaming here. Meant that the prop was quite close to the trailing edge and the motor was buried inside. So what I did was pulled out the motor mount, moved it back and just glued it back into place so that now the motor is totally clear. Means that you have a lot better access to the motor. There's better cooling and it's quieter because the prop is further away from the trailing edge. I really hate really noisy planes. I like to sort of cause the least amount of disturbance to the people around me and the wildlife and all that sort of stuff when I'm flying. So moving the motor further away from the trailing edge is one of the things I often do. Done a similar thing on my Bixler. I have pulled the motor mount out of the little motor area there, glued on a disc of plywood, and the motor is just bolted onto that plywood. That means I get very good access to the motor. Also lifts the motor up a little bit so I can use a slightly larger prop. This is a 7x3 or 7x4 prop. Works very nicely, 3-bladed prop. And with the Bixler I've also put the ESC on the outside so that gets better cooling too. And I've also done a similar thing with the X8. Here's the Skywalker X8, and again I've pulled the motor mount out of the little surround, glued a plywood disc on there and just bolted the motor mount onto the plywood disc. I have also moved the servos from inside here, where they were taking up valuable real estate, pulled out the big long push rods and moved the servos out onto the tail there. Of course that changes the centre of gravity a little bit, so you have to move the battery further forward to counteract that. But I like the fact that we've got a lot more space, a lot more clear area in the cockpit. Servos are accessible and down the back, shorter push rods, and the motor is out in the open air and can use a bigger prop and get access to the motor as well. Same sort of thing on my mini Talon. You can see I have I think I just cut off all the excess foam shroud around the motor there. So that just gives you better access to the motor, moves the prop further away from any foam bits there. With the mini Talon I've also put a skid on the tail and faired out this bump here and faired out with the little landing wheel used to go there as well. With the mini Talon it had pretty poor access into the nose area here. You sort of had to come in from the hatch over there. So I've opened up a nose hatch like that there. Means I can get the battery right into the nose and get to the insides a little bit easier as well. My fin wing XBird was an 800mm wingspan. And it was nice and convenient size, I suppose, but it just seemed to be begging for a more wing area to me. So I have added on about 100mm extra wing span on each end. So it's up to just over 1 metre wingspan now, and it makes it a very smooth, very efficient, really enjoyable FPV plane. This one of my favourites. And this one is the Zod Talon GT. You used to have the big shoebox sized nose on it so that you could fit an FPV camera and GoPro in the nose. I never want to put a GoPro in the nose of a plane, so I've slimmed this one down, took a slice out of the top, a slice out of the bottom, brought them together, printed up a narrow nose cone. Makes it much more efficient, flies a lot more smoothly as well. Just looks a lot better too, I think. There's just one more thing that I've done with the Talon GT too. I've sort of shaved off the front corners of these little winglets here, which kept catching on the grass, just so that they're nice and smooth, and they haven't been damaged since now. So these ones are prone to getting broken by catching on things. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.